In the 1800s, it was the belief that women should be the keeper of the home. Their highest calling was proper housekeeping. Their roles included laundry, ironing, mending, baking, cleaning, childcare, cooking 3 meals a day, hauling water, tending the fire, making clothing for the family, and preserving the food. Women on farms also took charge of a garden, livestock, and poultry.
Movement for female education began late 18th century with little protest other than the fact that girls were not allowed in male schools, causing female academies to begin forming. Early 19th century girls started to be allowed in the same schools as boys. By 1860, a white girl was just as likely to attend school as a white boy. From 1870 onward, female high school graduates outnumber male graduates.
Women were thought to be weak physically and emotionally, but artistic and refined. They were also thought to have strong morals. Movement to allow female education stopped at college. Most colleges only wanted to teach males. Those who did attend were not treated equally. There was a belief that female health was threatened if they were forced to follow the same difficult course as the men. Women who attended college also married less often. Many female classes in college often taught the science of housekeeping.
In Mississippi in 1839, they began to allow wives to own property after marriage.
In 1840, at the World Anti-Slavery Convention, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott were refused seats due to their gender. The same women hosted the Seneca Falls Convention of Women's Rights 8 years later.
July 1848, votes for women seriously proposed at the Seneca Falls Women's Rights Convention, the first women's rights convention. 68 women and 32 men signed a Declaration of Sentiments, which outlines grievances and sets the agenda for the women's right movement. They adopt 12 resolutions, which called for equal treatment of men and women as well as voting rights for women.
In 1850, the first National Women's Rights Convention in Worcester, Massachusetts, attracts over 1,000 people. National conventions are then held yearly through 1860, not including 1857. In 1855, the University of Iowa is the first state school to admit women. In May of 1869, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton, in an effort to achieve voting rights for women by means of a constitutional amendment, formed the National Women's Suffrage Association, or NAWSA. The NAWSA begins to wage state-to-state campaigns, hoping to win voting rights for women. In 1870, the 15th Amendment, in which it does not specifically exclude women from the vote, is ratified. During the following 2 years, approximately 150 women will try to vote in almost a dozen different jurisdictions, from Delaware to California.
In the 1870s, many women attempted to vote despite the Constitution. Susan B. Anthony was arrested for voting and fined.
In 1872, the efforts of lawyer Belva Lockwood caused Congress to pass a law to give women federal employees equal pay for equal work. Lockwood later ran for president, receiving 4,000 votes from 6 states. She is the first woman to receive votes in a presidential election.
In 1890, Wyoming became the first state with women's suffrage.
In 1913, Alice Paul of the National Women's Party led a march of 8,000 people on President Woodrow Wilson's inauguration day. Half a million people watched, and 200 were injured when violence broke out. In 1917, during President Woodrow Wilson's second inaugural, Alice Paul leads a march around the White House.
In 1919, the House of Representatives passed a 304 to 90 vote an amendment to this Constitution. The rights of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States.
August 26, 1920, women finally gained the right to vote after over 70 years of struggling. The 19th Amendment has passed, and a new era of equality begins.